All right, we're going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. The time is 3:30 p.m. But if you will please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, can you please call the roll?
City Council Member Sandoval.
Here.
City Council Member Salazar.
Here.
Chair Barajas.
Present. We will now move into public comment for items not on today's agenda. Is there any member of the public that wishes to comment on any item not on today's agenda?
So I'm not sure if the decision about the transfer of the funds is on the agenda that transpired, the Chinatown one. Is it on the agenda or
It's not on today's agenda, but now would be the time to make a comment on that.
Okay, so I'd like to say that I think that that decision was not properly made. And the reason being is that on the agenda packet for September 9th, in the summary of the first substantial amendment, it says that the determination was based on solely the community development director, that I guess that's Lisa Brinton, that she could change it even though the standards fall below Section 1 and 2, which outline the amount of money that could be changed. So I don't really think that that is enough reason to change it. I think that a determination based solely on what the community development director wants to do is not enough. And also, there really wasn't enough public engagement. And when you voted on it, there was barely a quorum. It was 2 to 3 because Andrew Sandoval wasn't here. So I think it was wrongly pushed through without enough community engagement.
Thank you. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to comment at this time? Anyone online? No? All right, we'll go ahead and close public comment for items not on today's agenda. Clerk, can you please walk us through the Levine Act?
Does anyone have any Levine Act contributions to disclose? Council Member Sandoval?
No.
Council Member Salazar?
No.
Chair Barajas?
No. Thank you. We will now move into today's consent agenda. Is there any member of this committee that wishes to pull it for separate discussion, consideration? All
I'd
right.
like to move for approval.
Motion for approval. We'll go ahead, thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Salazar, second by Councilmember Sandoval. We'll go ahead and bring it out for public comment. Is there any member of the public that wishes to comment on today's consent agenda? Anyone online? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment on today's consent agenda. We have a motion and a second. Clerk, can you please call for a vote?
Council Member Sandoval? Yes. Council Member Salazar?
Yes.
Chair Barajas?
Yes. Thank you. We will now move into today's consideration item, ID number 25-309, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report for fiscal year 24-25, and we have Mr. Montgomery giving us the presentation today.
Vincent Montgomery, Planning Manager, Salinas Community Development Department. Good afternoon, Chair, committee members, and members of the public. Thank you for joining us today as we present the City of Salinas fiscal 2024-25 consolidated annual Performance and Evaluation Report, commonly referred to as the CAPER. This report is a federally mandated summary of how we've utilized HUD funding to advance our community development goals, and it reflects both achievements and the work still ahead. It's not advancing. Thank you. So in terms of public engagement, we, in accordance with our citizen participation plan, the city has ensured public access engagement through the 15-day public comment period from September 8th through September 23rd, public notices in the Monterey Herald, document availability at the City Hall, libraries, and the CDD office, and online. The scheduled public hearing at the September 23rd City Council meeting is also pending. Thank you. In terms of our funding overview, I just want to first point out that when compared to the staff report, some of the categories on the and on this slide and on the subsequent slides have been collapsed to fit into the presentation. In fiscal year 2024-25, Salinas managed nearly $15 million, as you can see, in HUD funding across 5 program areas. These include carryover from prior years and reflect both completed and ongoing projects. CDBG investment supported 5 facility projects, including the Sherwood Recreation Center and Early Childhood Development Center. Public services, like SORT and ECHO, reached over 200 households. Program administration with near full expenditure efficiency. CDBG CV funds bolstered pandemic recovery through fair housing and referral services, technical assistance for over 166 small businesses and 54 households. The home and home ARP allocations remain largely uncommitted, pending strategic deployments aligned with our housing pipeline and HUD-approved plans. And finally, on this slide, the ESG program funds supported rapid rehousing and homelessness outreach, assisting 197 households. And the fiscal year 2025 CDBG program reflects a strategic allocation of federal resources to advance community development priorities in Salinas. The city has committed over $436,000 to program administration, ensuring regulatory compliance, and efficient grant management. A substantial investment of $6.3 million, as you can see, drawing from current and prior years' funding, supports the 5 public facility projects that we mentioned earlier, with 1 already completed and 4 underway, signaling our strong momentum in terms of infrastructure development. And on public service front, nearly $475,000 was allocated to the Salinas Outreach and Response Team, which is known as SORT, as well as Eden Council for Hope and Opportunity, ECHO, resulting in direct support to over 200 households. And these outcomes demonstrate the program's tangible impact on housing stability and community well-being. And together, these figures underscore a balanced approach with oversight, capital investment in facilities, and targeted public services that meet urgent local needs. CDBG CV program continues to deliver targeted support and response to the pandemic-related challenges, with a focus on both administrative efficiency and direct community impact. The city of Salinas allocated nearly $39,000 for program administration, maintaining compliance and oversight with minimal overhead, and over 88% of those funds have already been expended. The bulk of the funding, as you can see, over $187,000 was directed toward public services initiatives, including housing information, referral services, fair housing support, and economic development technical assistance. These efforts reached 54 households and 166 businesses, underscoring the program's dual commitment to housing stability and small business resilience. And then this slide also shows how, or highlights how CDBG funds have been deployed to meet urgent needs while maintaining fiscal accountability. The outreach reflect a meaningful return on investment for both residents as well as local businesses. As for home, the home program continues to serve as a cornerstone of Salinas' long-term housing strategy. For fiscal year 24-25, the city allocated over $327,000 toward program administration, with more than 70% already expended, reflecting proactive oversight and readiness for future commitments. The bulk of home funding, $3.7 million, as you can see, included prior year allocations, and most of it is earmarked for housing development and preservation. While expenditures are pending, this is a deliberate approach that ensures that future commitments align with community needs, regulatory timelines, and long-term affordability goals. This slide signals that substantial housing investments are on the horizon, and the outcomes are still to be determined, but the groundwork is laid for future deployment. And as for Home ARP, the City of Salinas is advancing its Home ARP strategy following HUD's approval of the allocation plan in May 2023. Of the total $437,816 designated for program administration, already over 40% has been expended. The remaining $2.48 million in funding is reserved for future commitments with project categories and outcomes still to be determined. This slide marks a pivotal planning phase in terms of positioning the city to deploy resources toward high-impact housing and supported service initiatives in the coming year. And as far as ESG program, the ESG program continues to deliver targeted support for homelessness, prevention, and rapid rehousing in Salinas. And of the total $29,073 allocated for program administration, over half has been expended, ensuring compliance and operational oversight. The bulk of funding in this category, nearly $369,000, or I should say nearly $369,000 was directed to public service efforts led by the SORT team and Community Homeless Solutions, resulting in housing support for 197 households. These figures reflect a high-impact deployment of ESG resources with strong performance in service delivery as well as fiscal execution. Next slide. Finally, these investments reflect our broader strategic priorities of economic deployment and small business support, affordable housing expansion, infrastructure improvements, and services for youth, seniors, as well as unhoused residents. So it is our recommendation that the Housing and Land Use Committee support the approval of a City Council resolution informing the fiscal year 2024-25 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report and authorizing submittal to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. And so we welcome your questions and feedback. For further information, please contact the Housing Division at 831-758-7334 or visit our webpage at cityofsalinas.gov. And we thank you all for your time. Any questions?
Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Montgomery. I'll look to my right, starting with Councilmember Sandoval. Any questions?
Sure. For the uncommitted funds, at what point will there be recommendations brought forward to Housing Land Use Committee, or what will be the process to bring those recommendations forward?
Well, there's a couple of things. One, we have issued a NOFA, and we have 5 applications that have come in. We'll be bringing back probably mid to late October, some recommendations for how some of those funds are being allocated. We are still working with HCD and actually HUD to determine what the best way to utilize these funds while also meeting our HUD timelines. And the other ones that I mentioned, the commitments, they're probably going to be a year and a half away in terms of the home ARP because of, putting it lightly, the developments are still pending, and we plan on utilizing those funds for supportive services.
Right, I know there's not a whole lot of access to, I know there's access in there for, housing resources for eco housing, things like that, but I haven't found a whole lot of opportunities for legal assistance other than, for example, CRLA, which has a very small team. But as far as support legal services for tenant, is there some of this funding that could be allocated either through eco housing or through another agency to support?
So you're correct. There's not a whole lot of resources for legal assistance. However, there are some resources, and we plan on expanding our agreement with ECHO to provide some additional resources in terms of housing support and, basically workshops that we will be presenting in the community.
Because I believe eco housing only has, like $5,000
Yeah, that's
allocated
correct.
for that, so.
That's going to be increased. I don't know the exact number at this point because we will be bringing a city council staff report that will be recommending some additional funds for ECHO. But at this time, it probably, I don't believe it's been determined, the amount yet.
How will we make that determination?
So that determination is, we'll have a recommendation in our staff report, which is still being developed, but it should be in a number of days, you'll be able to see the draft, and we will bring that on I believe, October 7th, is it, city council meeting with our recommendation.
Is that something that they'll be able to, issue a proposal for, or,
Because we had an existing agreement with ECHO, we will just be able to increase their contract, and I don't believe we would need to do a proposal. And I think legal would agree that it's just a matter of revising their current contract.
All right, and they also have a guide to home buying services as well. Do we have any inclination that if they'll be increasing that request for fundings for our residents, or?
Not sure on that, whether that component will be increased, but I know there's additional funding for resources for the community.
And I guess it'd be good to be able to see the scope of work for eco housing as opposed to what our housing staff is responding to. Perhaps we can get that in the future.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Thank you. Councilmember Salazar?
Vincent, thank you for your presentation. I'm looking at slide number 3. Just had a general question for you. So the CDBG, CV, and the ESG funding, I see that we were close to expending all that funding in terms of the total funding that was available.
Yeah.
Is that something that gets rolled over, or is that funding that?
Not the CV funds. Those are one time. I'm almost certain that those will not be rollover or renewed. But if you're talking about what's left, it's actually probably already gone. That amount, because we're talking last fiscal year, I believe that amount has been fully expended now that we are into the new fiscal year. But there will be no additional CV funds.
Okay. So for example, when I look at ESG, total available funding, 397,000, total available funding, and then when I look at the expenditures, 370, 373, I was just curious, again, that's funding that, sounds like what I heard from you, doesn't necessarily roll over. Does that include all expenditures that have? have cleared?
For-
Any other pending?
Fiscal year 2024, 25, yes, it did, but correction, it did roll over, but the point I was trying to make is that those funds now have been fully expended.
Thank you. That concludes my questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Montgomery, for the presentation. And let me just make sure. My one question that wasn't asked so far is pertaining to the NOFA that was issued. Is the notice of funding availability pertinent to HUD, or is there a NOFA issued for each of the individual funding?
It's just the sources that HUD provides, so they're all federal funds that we will be distributing in that NOFA. There will be consideration for future allocations, but right now it's just the HUD funds that were in that NOFA.
Okay. All right, thank you for that clarification. That concludes my questions. We'll now take it out to the public for public comment on this item. Is there any member of the public that wishes to comment on this item? Sorry. We will now take this out to public comment. Is there any member of the public that wishes to comment on this item? Anyone online? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment on this item and we'll bring it back to the board for consideration. Is there a motion?
Just a comment before we,
Yes.
just a comment. Yeah, just that, that I support the increase in funds for those legal services, because although there is a lot of resources out there, actually resources with teeth is a little different. So, but with that, I'll make a motion to accept staff's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Sandoval, second by Councilmember Salazar. Councilmember Salazar, any final comments?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. And on my end, again, just happy to support the motion today. Me in particular, I'm looking forward to seeing, what are some of the potential eligible uses and projects that come about for home funding and all the other projects, particularly pertaining to housing development and preservation, right? Very fun topic, so looking forward to seeing that come through. Clerk, can you go ahead and call it for a vote?
Councilmember Sandoval.
Yes.
Councilmember Salazar.
Yes.
Chair Barajas.
Yes. Thank you. Motion passes. We will now have no items on public hearings. Do we have
Thank
any
you.
administrative reports from staff today? No? We have no administrative reports. Is there any member of this body that wishes to add any future agenda items for consideration? All right. I do have one item that I would like to request, if I can get a buddy. So I request that staff give a presentation to the Housing and Land Use Committee / Future Growth Area Committee on AB 1033 and the options for the city in adopting AB 1033, an AB 1033 ordinance to allow for the sale of accessory dwelling units separate from the primary dwelling unit. Second.
If you need a buddy on that, I'll buddy up on you.
Okay. We have a buddy with Councilmember Salazar. Are there any other items that any council members wish to add for future agenda items? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and adjourn today's meeting at 3:53 p.m.